airsoft and real firearm sphere, there's been a conjoining happening in which airsofters start to use real kit, real tactics in their playing, and the high and mighty firearms guys are stepping down from their throne so that they can play with the kids. And what we're getting now is a bridge between the two communities, and it is a beautiful bridge, and I can see you right through the gaps. And right now we're just living on the bridge. The reason we're here today is to discuss different systems, popular systems used in airsoft guns, and we're going to talk about what systems are good for training. We're going to start from the most airsofty, less realistic end of the spectrum to the most realistic, less convenient for airsofty end of the spectrum. Now we're going to talk about the cost of actually shooting, which is the big pull factor, one of the reasons why people are using airsoft to train real steel. A bottle of BBs, 5,000 rounds can cost you $20 to $25. They don't even have to be like 4.0s or 3.0s for whatever system. They can be 2.0s if you're shooting targets that are like 10 meters away from you. So we have some aluminum cans here. Your stand, it doesn't even have to be extravagant. It doesn't have to be PVC. It doesn't have to be a street sign that you stole from the end of your block at like midnight. It could just be a stick in your backyard that you stake to the ground and just zip tie whatever you want on it. It really just has to have a response so that you feel good when you hit it. We're gonna do some T-Rex Arms course of fire drills. We have the 50 round carbine course of fire. We have the 50 round pistol course of fire, and we have the and we have the equipment shakeout course of fire. We're just gonna get to it. We're just gonna send it. Starting off, we have the SEMA Platinum. Now, this is gonna represent most AEGs. Granted, most AEGs don't perform as well as these do out of the box. This is just a good exception because it's a good budget price point without being too cheap, not being too expensive, but also offering great performance. This is essentially the most convenient bang for your buck if you're definitely going to play airsoft. What you're still getting from this, though, is the ability to run your same mag carriers, do your reloads, manipulate your safety, put your attachments on it, and get that feel, while also not really sacrificing too much as far as playing airsoft and being effective. We're going to look at the first two drills here. Low ready, one shot to the head box, and high ready, one shot to the head box. This is perfect for demonstrating that response time difference between a really good stock AEG and a very souped up, completely not stock upgraded AEG built by Anttech Airsoft Studios LLC. And then this is my 416. I'm going to talk about it for 10 minutes because it makes the cameraman happy. And this represents high-end built AEGs. This is more expensive. It is on the higher budget. There is a bit more realism here, just in the feel, really. These externals feel phenomenal. The seamers are great, but you can't really beat VFC. The trigger response time is better on a properly built AEG. The overall range is going to be better as well. So you get a little bit more realism just in that trigger response, but it's also more effective for airsoft. It's just worth talking about. You can go a long way with AEGs. You can dive deep into it. So even just standing right next to him, it is so negligible, the difference, honestly. If we can just get these guns right over each other, you just do like 5 shots into the wall. Under like that condition, you could totally hear the difference. But when we're trying to hit the target, super negligible. Other stock AEGs, like a stock combat machine, even stock KWA guns, sorry KWA guys, they're not gonna be as fast as these. SEMA Platinums just happen to have the things that we put in these to make them fast. They just do it out of the box. So before moving on to the next system, I do think that it's worth saying that airsoft is in no way going to replace actual firearm training. You don't have any recoil to manage. The ballistics are completely different, and As far as the overall function of the gun, putting that mag in, racking that round, you have one in the chamber, you have whatever's in your mag, your reserves, that's gonna be different for most airsoft guns. As we move up, we're gonna start seeing a bit more realism, particularly in recoil guns. This one right here is a KWAERG. This is what we prefer for recoil guns, but Tokyo Marui makes recoil shocks. GBLSs exist. They're kind of like a love child between this and a gas blowback. Different beast, needs a different video. We're not even gonna address it here. Essentially glossing over all recoil guns, they're very much the same as AEGs as far as pros and cons. There's electronics that you can damage if you get them wet, if you have advanced MOSFETs in them, and they are pretty effective for airsoft. Where this one gets a little bit more realistic is that we have proprietary mags that feed to the last round, which is nice. So when you run empty, it's not like 4 BBs are gonna roll out. 4 BBs will roll out regardless though if the mag is full, just because the hop-up chamber doesn't retain BBs. You're not gonna be able to keep 1 in your chamber. If you have a hop-up that does retain BBs, it's more like 4 in your chamber with maybe +1 that's actually in your chamber. Not as realistic in that regard. But to compensate for that, one thing the ERG makes up for really well is its bolt release. So this has a mechanical cutoff such that when you fire that last round, it will prevent you from firing again until you put a fresh mag in and hit that bolt release. It does not actually send a bolt forward. It's a very silly, easy to hit button, but the muscle memory of knowing I put a new mag in, I have to hit that bolt release is there. Now you can't do the same thing with the charging handle, but it's just a little bit more realism. And there's some recoil impulse that you can actually control, which again, it's not gonna make up for what you should actually be practicing in shooting your real rifle, but it gives you some impulse to have to control, and it's really fun to shoot fast. So definitely more sluggish than those souped up AEGs. However, like I mentioned before, these can be upgraded to shoot that fast. This one happens to be stock. So this is the example for stock AEG performance. The recoil is just added feels. Next we essentially have, they're AEGs, except instead of all the electronic mechanical tidbits, we have what's called a HPA engine. Now HPA engines are meant to run off of high pressure air. Polar Star Airsoft made a very nice mechanical, no electronics used system called the KWAERG. And what's nice about these, as opposed to Redline N7s, is that for the application of training, what you actually get from these systems is a trigger pull. You get a weighted trigger with take up and break and release. And you can tune the weight of the trigger to get it to match whatever rifle you're running as best as you can. Okay, so doing that run, I had to reload. I didn't know I had to reload until I shot a dry fire. And I shot a couple until I realized that I ran out. So the KWAERG is not the best for that. Upon reloading, I don't have a bolt stop, but it's a closed bolt system, so I have to fire a round in order to chamber the next round. It's not gonna be exactly the same, but as far as playing airsoft is concerned, it's not like feathering a hair trigger with the Titan in the gun. Your finger gets tired. It's a thing to actually consider. If you want to shoot fast, you're actually working on the same skills that you would if you wanted to shoot a real trigger fast, to some degree. These also completely slay on the field as well because they are so quiet if you put special cans on them. We did a build highlight on this exact gun. If you want all those details, you should definitely watch that video because I go deep into this. I even talk about the gas stock options. I'm not gonna go crazy into it today. The last one we're gonna discuss really quick are gas blowback rifles and gas blowback pistols. These are the most realistic you're gonna get as far as function and operation, really. This is a GHK. There's other systems out there like the MWS, the GBLS, which again, other beast. It's just weird. It's in that weird, is it a gas blowback? Is it an electric? Who knows, right? What's great about this is that you have a bolt that actually reciprocates. These run off of a buffer tube. This one in particular doesn't because there's a special bolt in there. I'm not going to go into it. There's really no point in doing so, but what I will show you is the field strip. Is I'm going to pop the pin out and just show you that this field strip's like a real AR. The fire control group is very much the same, although you cannot just convert between a GHK and a real AR. You can't. Believe me. I didn't try, but believe me, I have a caliper and I just, you know, I know these. So there's a bolt carrier group. This bolt carrier group is not gonna look like a normal bolt carrier group because we got rid of the buffer in this one. It's because the owner's gonna be putting a side folding MCX stock on it because he's a sick man with sick desires. He wants to make this a near compliant other. This is really turning into an ad for GHK. I don't know what I'm doing. But there you go, there you have it. The operation's all the same. You have a functioning bolt stop. It stops when the mag is empty. You release it by hitting it, or you can release it by reciprocating that charging handle, just like a real one. Re-indexing mags is hard. There's a whole bunch of hoopla going on right now. And so as far as running your 1R1 drills, as far as breaking that trigger, working on that reset, it is a bit more realistic. Although the trigger pull is not as heavy as what you can tune on a KWAERG. And I'm sure that there are aftermarket parts for it. But just to demonstrate the gun functioning for you, I have a loaded mag here. If I can get the sling out of the way. You put that in, we can rack around. And if there was gas in it, it would work. But there isn't. So we're gonna try that again. And we do have a round in the chamber. So you saw I racked around and it's still in the chamber. You probably can't see it, but trust me, it's in there. So that's pretty realistic. You have that. Now you have what's in your reserve. So that's pretty nice. Now that right there is one of the cons of gas guns. When you run out of gas, it kind of goes kapoop. You can't use these outside in the winter, and that's why it's on this end of the spectrum as far as usability for airsoft. You know, you're not gonna be able to use these outside in the winter for training. They're great for indoor training, they're good for summertime outdoor training, but they're not great for winter outside training. Even if you use MAP gas and put those mags in between your belly and your plate carrier, you know, like the pioneers did, it's still not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same. From high ready, 1 round into right target, bolt lock reload, 4 more into right target. So it's a 1R4. And we're going to use the GHK for that because it's the most fucking... Cool. I have 2 more rounds, so I'm going to do the same thing, but 1R2. So... reset. Yeah. You do run out of gas. You're gonna have to change your gas frequently. But when you have gas, it's awesome. And it costs way less than ammo. Less strain on your fingers than loading 9mm into Glock mags. Especially that last round. We also have gas pistols. I can't just gloss over this one. Very much similar concept as GBBRs. These are just GBBs, gas blowbacks. GBBRs are gas blowback rifles. You have a slide that locks back on the last round. Just like that. You can put in a fresh mag and you can do that. Now this mag was not fresh, it only went forward because I hit the slide release. But there you go. You got a good kick, you have something to control. You can put it in your holster. You can work on dropping your primary, drawing that pistol, bringing it up to the target, doing that thing. the motion, the kit shakedown, all that stuff. That's what Airsoft's for.
Oh, what do we learn? Oh, pushing first.
Imagine doing that when everybody's watching you and you spent like $200 to be here. It's really what it's for, because you want to find out that you hate your holster and that you don't know why you have all these pouches on your pouches where they can just flap around when there's no mag in it. You don't want to find that out when you're at an event or when you're paying money for some type of training class and you're really just trying to focus on a particular thing that has nothing to do with all the shit that you should have just checked at home prior to going there. Okay, so hopefully we're not misinterpreting this one. So from this 10-meter position, it's gonna be 2 rounds into the left target, move to the 20-meter position back here. We're going backwards and right. And then once he gets here, 2 rounds into the right target. This is nice. You get to actually work on where you're aiming your pistol when you're moving backwards and not shooting. Safety, 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 man. Let's try it again. It's hard. I had the same holster issue you had.
Yeah.
So maybe this is an opportunity to, you know, buy a different holster if you realize you hate buttons and they make it harder for you to do your thing. Maybe I might switch my holster. Maybe I might drop it lower. I don't know. But I know that I need to do this here now, not when I'm wasting other people's time and money. Despite the insufficiencies that airsoft guns have in replicating the overall function of actual firearms, while you're not going to become a good marksman with a real firearm by shooting airsoft guns, it's about developing good habits intentionally. Because it's very easy to come here and build bad habits. I hear people say all the time, I don't even put an optic on my gun, I don't even use it because I can just see my BBs. That's fine if you want to just run around and play airsoft and have fun. But don't think that that's going to work with a real firearm, you're going to die. The whole point is that you want to work out the muscle group that you're working on. When you're doing push-ups to build your chest, you're going to focus on your chest. You can get yourself off the ground technically doing a push-up in so many different ways that's not going to build your chest. You have to intentionally go in there and have the good habit and discipline to work those reps in. Even though I can just hip fire and hit that target that's 10 meters away from me, it's not the point. Yeah, that works for airsoft, but it'll only work with a real firearm if I actually get on sight, pull that gun in to my shoulder, and work on that. My footwork is so bad. I want to do that again. I want to do that one more time. It's like, if you go like this, it's harder to switch because that sling literally gets in the way. But then if you run like this,
as you should.
Yeah. It's like I learned these things now. Are you filming?
Yeah.
That's perfect. See, I'm learning. You can be learning too. Another thing that I want to discuss is PID. I see all the time in airsoft people saying, I shoot first and ask questions later, as they're friendly firing people. I am guilty of this myself. I've shot teammates so many times, and everybody in my circle can attest to this. I've done it under thermals. I've done it when we've been occupying the same area in the woods. I'm a little bit retarded.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
I'm doing it. I'm milking.
But the whole point is that you have to PID. It's important. You have to break the bad habits, because if I was in a real scenario, I don't want to shoot my friends. In Ukraine, they're using armbands to designate what side of the war they're on. We use armbands in airsoft. Okay, it's like, it's silly, but it's not silly. I thought it was fucking funny when I saw a Ukrainian soldier wearing tape on his arm to designate that he was with Ukraine. So you saw us do a bunch of drills with airsoft guns, and I have to say that after doing all of that, my favorite platform for being right on that bridge, not under it, right on top of that bridge, is I like to run my KWAERG personally. This is the shittiest KWAERG build I've ever built, and it's mine. All the other ones I built are nice, because I don't get to have nice things, everybody else does. But even so, with this one having a weird whistle and having some of its peculiarities that I'm going to iron out, I have so much fun using this, and as far as being an effective airsoft gun, it just hits different, it works. So I want you guys to let me know in the comments what platform you think is the best one to exist on the bridge. What's the best compromise to you to get the most training, but also having a good, effective airsoft gun that you can take out to open play skirmishes? The whole point of all this is that the price of ammunition is going through the roof, the price is going to keep going up, the price of everything is going to keep going up. So not only is the price of ammo inflating a problem, but just making the decision to get groceries for your family, put gas in your car over going to the range that weekend, this is starting to become a consideration for a lot of average shooters. Once you get over that spending hump into airsoft, which there are options for you within different budget ranges, you really are spending very little on ammo. We touched upon that already. But the point is, you have to keep training. It's not just about training ballistics of the guns, it's also about training you. It's not until you struggle to pick up the front end of your 10.5 416 after a long day of playing that you realize that you are not as much as you can be. Yeah, you could be in your basement and you can bring the gun up and you can do your drills, but when you're dehydrated, when you're hot, when you've been running around at Zulu 24 Airsoft, just on an open play weekend with your friends, and you realize that, oh my God, I'm struggling just to bring my gun up and see these sights, you realize how insufficient you are. And that shouldn't be looked down upon, that shouldn't be anything that you run away from. That should be an opportunity for you, and myself included, to learn and get better at being a proficient shooter. Shooting is a foundational element of the American tradition. This country was founded upon the Second Amendment. Not solely the Second Amendment, but it was founded upon liberty, individual responsibility. And when you talk about training, when you talk about taking ownership of firearms, taking ownership for your own safety, your own life, your own free time, and your own recreational time, that's what it's all about. Nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can tell you that, no, you cannot own this because this is banned in our country. It's fucking bullshit. It doesn't work. It's never worked. And if we have a strong bridge between the firearms community and the airsoft community, we actually have a good, lest I say army, it's not an army, it's a militia of people that can actually come together and just say no. And that's all it really takes. It's peaceful civil disobedience, just simply saying, no, I like going out on the weekends and playing airsoft. No, I like going to the range and shooting. Yes, it is for defense. Yes, it is for offense against tyranny. Yes, toys somehow fit into this because it's all about the culture, and there should be no shame about enjoying what you enjoy. That's a wrap for me.